partaking in the mayhem we've had here every night. We've had a wild roster of films, but you guys are here for the final installment. Well, first off, there's a bunch of people that I need to thank because this isn't possible without their help. First off, I want to have a big thank you to the folks, the volunteers that man the Midnight Madness blog. Let's hear it! If you want to go back and catch up on what was going on, check out the Midnight Madness blog. Of course, my programming team and my fellow programmers, oftentimes they're the ones who we network all year round, and one of them will say, I heard about this really fucked up film, you gotta see it, and that's how these films come to you. A big thanks to Carrie Craddock and of course my boss, Cameron Bailey, for bringing what we do. And I'll just say, people that, oh, do you get strong arms to pick films, you got pressure, you have to do this? Cameron Bailey lets me run free. He's never said, oh, maybe you shouldn't show that, or can you show that? He's like, go with it. Go with your gut, you know that audience, and you guys really make me proud every year, and I thank you a little bit more later on. Of course, the Ryerson staff, thank you very much to the Ryerson staff for putting us every night. A big thank for the cast crew. Every year we have directors and actors come here, and they're amazed at how beautiful the film looks, how great it sounds, and on Monday, when we start pulling everything down, this is no longer a movie theater. This goes back to being a Ryerson Convocation Hall. So you guys are the one audience every year. We get this all set up for you. And big thanks to the tech room and of course our projections every night. And you guys thank them with little spots, but let's give a big, honest, sincere round of applause for our fabulous volunteers. But now, I want to thank you guys, because every year, every night you come and you show so much love to our guests, and you make me so proud, you make Toronto so proud. These guys come from around the world, they're like, it's midnight, is anyone going to be there? I'm Q&A at 2 in the morning, they're going to go home. But you guys are always here, showing your love to the films, the filmmakers, and then smart questions of the Q&A, you impress them every year. So give yourselves a hand, a round of applause. I'm not sure if the man with the hat is here, but I have a programming associate who's going to make my life so much better this year. Fabulous programmer, check out. He's got some stuff coming up in Toronto after dark. So, we're going to have you come in the rest of the year. Okay. You're welcome. You're not fired. But back to the love that you guys show the filmmakers. A number of years ago, I got to meet a screenwriter who was here for a film called Dead Birds, which was in Midnight Madness. Michael Shannon was here on stage for Midnight Madness before he kind of blew up. And it was because of the writer of that film, Simon Barrett. And years later, Simon came back with a director. They worked on this film called A Horrible Way to Die, which was a And then they came back with a film which was specifically made for Midnight Madness, which was your next! You were the guys who really solidified them. You really kind of put your stamp of approval on what they did, and now we've got them back with the guests. This is a fabulous homecoming. Put your hands together for director Adam Wingard and writer Simon Barrett!
Simon, you want to bring out everybody else, because, whenever I have to name specific people, suddenly I can't remember their names, so here you go, Simon.
Who did our lead actress out here, Maika Monroe?
The stage of Midnight Madness is for April to the guests! Let's hear it for Maika Monroe!
You know, we have one Canadian on the movie, one only, but we feel like we're going to play that card a bunch tonight, so I'm not starting now. Can we get Brendan Meyer out here? Someone else. What did I feel? Oh shit! Dan Stevens.
First time at Midnight Madness, because he was here last year as an audience member sitting amongst you guys to watch what is now known as Blood Blaze here at the station. So he knows what you guys are up to. He knows how you guys roll.
Can I get a show of hands for everybody who's drunk right now? Not really, no. What about illegal narcotics? Okay, everybody else can leave. Including, okay.
Wait, this is for now. How many people are like reading history textbooks right now? Okay, all right.
So you know, it's really great to be back here. I mean, the screening we had here at Your Next back in 2011 was pretty much the most pivotal screening of our entire careers. It really pushed us in a whole new direction. And you know, the enthusiasm that you know, permeated through that screening really gave me a boner. And you know, I just wanted to share that with you guys. No, I mean, it's really great to be here. Actually, we haven't even seen the movie in a couple months because we went through that whole period where we were screening it constantly and we watched it with the crowd. And at a certain point, I decided to just save it up for the Toronto Midnight Madness crowd because I was most looking forward to this screening out of all of them. So I'm going to hand this over to Simon, but thanks again for coming, sincerely from the bottom of our hearts.
We are sitting through this one, so keep them booing and feel blame. I gotta say, I thought you were wearing Your Next mask, you got just like a bear hat. But you know, Colin, I just want to say something real quick. It's funny that you mentioned dead birds. Do you remember where we were exactly 10 years ago on September 13th, 2004? That's right, Colin, guys. Tonight is our 10-year anniversary. I was here on this stage exactly 10 years ago. And I know you wanted us to do closing night film. You know, I was a little different back then. I had a little more hair. I could view my genitals without a complex inhibiting system of years. But I know you wanted us to do closing night film, so I just want to say thanks to all the partners that did for moving the entire festival back a week, so we could have this anniversary moment. And it's going to have this moment for me, and you can all kind of share that process with us. It's actually just for me. We'll be back with these lovely people who are actually much more clever than us for a Q&A. We'll endeavor to make it entertaining as always, so please stick around and really, Adam and I will talk way less than them, and it'll be better. Thank you so much.
You've heard us all the way along, but tonight is your last chance to vote. Last chance to vote for one of the Girls' People's Choice Award, but also, more importantly, and this is something that a number of years ago I fought for, so exercise your right to vote for the Girls' People's Choice Midnight Madness Award. What is going to be the winner this year? You can vote for it, and you can vote for faithful. There are two ways to vote. Just drop the ticket stub in the box at the outside the cinema, or enter your ticket number at tiff.net/vote. And of course, we would like to thank D-Films, Picture House, and Handmade Films for providing us with this film. All right? If someone knocks on your door and they're charming and handsome, just be careful. Just be careful who you let into your house. Just be careful. Make sure you know who your guest is. It's, I don't know where I'm going with this. Go ahead with the guests! The team behind the guests. Adam Wingard and Simon Barrett! You want to bring up the rest of the team guests?
Simon?
Yeah, let's get Brandon Meyer, Maika Monroe, and Dan Stevens. It's like if the Turner succeeds in making ever furlong violent. And anyway, that was just my epiphany during this.
So after you were next, you guys were kind of dabbling in some other projects, but then you kind of went back to your roots just a bit really quick. Film, how did this come about? Where did the idea for this spring from?
Well, after we did Your Next, we kind of felt like maybe we should try to take the opportunity of having some sort of success into parlaying that into doing a different genre other than horror, because we thought, maybe we've been doing this long enough and we're getting kind of stagnant in there. And so we thought initially we would try our hand at doing an action film. And we found out the hard way that, the best way of picking a movie maybe isn't just spinning the globe and saying, hey, we're going to go shoot a movie in South Korea when we don't know anything about it, and try to shoot an action movie there. But that's what we did. And we went there and we discovered that that was a little bit more difficult than it seemed. And so we kind of went back to the drawing board, and we spent basically like a year not really sure what to do, because honestly, up to that point, we were in this, we'd always kind of been in a different position, because we were always kind of having to pick our movies based on subgenres that were a little bit more of a financially safe bet, So, with A Horrible Way to Die, it was Serial Killer. With Your Next, it was Home Invasion. And, but then after Your Next was a success, we were like, now we should do, all the genres in one movie, and because we were able to look at things differently and pick our projects as filmmakers. And long story short, basically one day I was sitting around, depressed, not sure what to do, and we were just filming all these fucking VHS movies, and I just happened to put in. I was at the office actually, and I just happened to put in a double feature of Blu-rays that I just bought, and one of them was Terminator, and the next one was Halloween. And suddenly, everything just kind of clicked, and I realized that those two movies kind of personified the reason why I became a filmmaker to begin with. So my first world struggles were over, and I went to Simon with that idea, and I was like, hey Simon, why don't we do, this is the time I was also really into Prometheus, and I was like, let's do like an Android movie, and Simon was like, that's a terrible idea.
Well, I kept thinking about that Wes Craven movie, A Deadly Friend. Interesting reaction. Or the Mark L. Lester film, class of 1999. But in all seriousness, I didn't know how to do that. Like in Killer Android movie, I didn't know what the tone was or what the reality of kind of story would even be. Like, what's the foundation for that story, and how and I knew we weren't going to get like Prometheus money to make it. This costs slightly less than Prometheus. But I had this old script that I'd started in 2007. That was going to be called The Guest, and it was like this really depressing PTSD drama, and it was garbage. And I'd written about 30 pages, and it was this like self-indulgent wankery, and I stopped writing. And felt bad, and then forgot about it kind of. But I always kind of loved the original just like hook of it, of this Dan Stevens looking gentleman showing up at a family's house and giving like this reason to get inside, and then like kind of trying to fix their lives in these monkey's paw-esque ways. I also thought that was actually like a good germ of an idea. I just wasn't a good enough writer to pull it off, and I didn't know what I was doing. So when Adam kind of said that idea about that tone, the Halloween Terminator, Prometheus tone, which is a unique tone. I realized that was like that was like the lightning bolt to like bring this like awful deceased script back to life. And then once I kind of approached it with that, like that kind of style in mind, Adam was like sending me music as soon as I started writing stuff, so I kind of knew in like a really hard to explain way what the style of this kind of would be.
Yeah, we kind of also decided to create sort of like an inverted Michael Myers, and you know, so and that came from reading this book Shock Value, which is all about the you know, the kind of the way that 70s horror shifted into the 80s with Dan O'Bannon and John Carpenter making Halloween and Alien, and how like the kind of Lovecraftian thing turned horror into this kind of like faceless evil, you know, sort of thing, and you know, and I just got me thinking, you know, it's like, what's the modern day version of that? And I thought, well, let's just do exactly the opposite. Let's put our Michael Myers. He's not the faceless shape anymore. He's the guy who's like, he's handsome. He's Downton Abbey, you know. And you know, I just wanted to do the opposite thing, and you know, like we kind of decided that, you know, similarly to Halloween, our movie would have like sort of a Dr. Loomis chasing him around, and that's Lance Reddick. You know, we decided to kind of loosely base that structure. Before anybody asks, because we always get this thing, everybody always wants to know if there's going to be a sequel. We were not planning on a sequel. The ending was really like a whole kind of homage to the ending of Halloween. So
we're willing to make one of the films that normally sit.
So Dan, what do you think about this project? Have you seen your next, or are you a fan of their work, a fan of horror films?
Yeah, it was batshit crazy. I wanted to meet the guys that made that film, and when I read the guest, it was just the funniest script I've read. I smiled from ear to ear when I read this.
we talked too much with Dan, so
We got figured out with our long answer.
No, I think one of the things about Adam and Simon is the witness, playfulness. I can say a lot of nice things about you, Simon. You know, when I saw your next, it was just, you know, you felt like you were in good hands. You know, they just wanted to take you for a fun ride, and it was really exciting to see them want to do that in a slightly different genre. And so they were looking to step outside of their comfort zone a little bit, and they were coming out of horror 101, and I was kind of stepping out of the costume drama 101 costume. We kind of met in a corridor somewhere, and we were like, we just go do something fucking crazy. So we made the guest.
Two very different roles, and both of them very kind of very powerful heroines. But this was a little bit more high energy. What did you do to prepare for this?
What did I do to that? I mean, I guess the energy on set was pretty incredible. We've got such an awesome group here, and obviously an incredible sense of humor that we're used to over here, and it just was so much fun shooting this. All of us had such a good time, because this is such a fun film, and seeing it come out, and seeing you guys enjoying it, like it's amazing. So.
When we met Maika, she was a professional kiteboarder. Right?
Yes.
But you aren't anymore because now you're an actress.
Apparently.
So I think we can kind of take credit for that. And one of these days at the Q&A, I'm going to get Maika to actually explain kiteboarding to me.
What it is?
Someone asked me in an interview, and I told them that it was surfing while flying a kite.
For horror centers like that, seriously, look Simon up on Twitter. Every tweet is gold.
With Maika, you can play time movies for kiteboarding, which would be amazing. I bet it's really interesting.
Well, let's hear it for our young Canadian hero. Kind of play some revenge fantasies I think that everyone in this audience had. Were you aware of your next, and what did you think when you got this project?
Well, I was aware of your next and the buzz that was building around it, and it hadn't come out yet when we were shooting it, and I actually waited until after we were done so I could see it for the first time in the theater, and I thought it was great. It was really, really great, so it was really cool to have done the movie and to be able to see your next, which I've heard so much about. And yeah, when I got the project, I was just so excited. I mean, I love the script, I love the character, and yeah, it just got better and better. I mean, it was when when I saw the great work that Dan and Mike were doing, and working with Adam, and it's been one of those great experiences. It just kept getting better and better. Yeah, it's been, it's not starting to know.
Brendan was the first actor we met for the part, and it was a weird thing because we were really scared that actors weren't going to get the role. And then we met with Brendan, and we were like, oh, it's really easy for actors to get. And like 3 hours later, we're like, okay, we need to test that person. As soon as possible. Is he still in the parking lot? Can we get him back here?
Still sort of the only person that auditioned for the part.
I swear didn't show up. And
Yeah,
we're like, oh shit. We have any
Well,
questions?
give me this one.
No, he nailed it like right away. It was really cool.
Any questions from the audience here? Yes. Yep.
Hi, Dan.
That's how we start off all good questions.
Were you a fan of genre movies as a kid? And this is complete departure from Matthew.
What do you think? Yeah, you know, I was obviously grew up in a slightly different country to many of you, and we were steeped in, you know, American action thrillers and horror over there. And one of the amazing things I found, I mean, it still kind of delights me, even though it shouldn't at this age, but you know, that Simon grew up in Missouri, Adam grew up in Alabama, and I grew up in Britain. And when we put together a list of, you know, top 10, 20 movies, there were a lot of the same films on there. And I think as soon as Adam and I established that we both really love the movie Big Trouble in Little China.
Yeah.
And we were in a good spot. Yes?
We needed somebody to explain the plot. And he needed to look really cool, and so we went through a database of actors that were available, and Lance was at the top of the list. And I just had a long conversation with him, because he wasn't really convinced that I'm doing it, because you know, rightfully so, he was like, I don't want to be the guy that comes in and explains the plot again, because I do that thing all the time. And I was like, and I just kind of explained to him that, that we're going to give him this really cool Gestapo-style trench coat, and it's going to look really cool, and that was pretty much it.
I mean, like every living creature, we're like fans of The Wire, and we kind of everyone likes The Wire. But yeah, we were really kind of excited about the opportunity to work with him. And you know, it's weird for those Loomis roles, you really do need someone who has like, you know, the kind of gravity to pull that off, and you know, he can definitely do it.
Yeah, during the whole production, I was actually looking forward the most to the moment whenever he shoots at David when he's driving off and he says, fuck, and throws the machine gun at him. That was like the #1 moment I was looking forward to.
Can you talk about your musical choices? You got, well, I mean, first there's a score by Steve Moore, who also did Cub, and then you've got like songs that
A
I
bunch of other shit in there.
which is amazing. From 242, Clan of Zymox, songs which we've never
Love and
heard.
Romans, yeah, no, I mean, when it came to the score, that was like kind of like my starting point of kind of like figuring out the stylization I wanted to take on my direction. And the very first conversation I had with Steve, which I go way back with Steve, like my very first movie I did back in 2003 was this slasher film, which it's called Homesick, which no reason why anybody would have seen it. And Steve at the time was, you know, just starting off with his band Zombie, and he actually composed the music for that film. And there was a good hiatus between 2003 and now, and there was, but I always wanted to get back with Steve and find the right project to work with him. And you know, so you know, I sent him the script, and we started talking about it. And the first conversation we had, I was like, basically cited as in terms of like the textual sound that I wanted the movie to have. I mentioned the Terminator 1 and 2, obviously, and then I mentioned the soundtrack to Halloween 3. And it just so happened that Steve was a really big fan of Halloween 3, and he had some edition of the soundtrack where it listed in the liner notes all of the equipment that John Carpenter and Alan Hayworth used to record that album. And it turned out that he had tracked all those synthesizers down, and he had bought them himself, you know. So I was like, oh, this is great, right, you know. And so that that was kind of like how we wanted to approach this whole thing, though. You know, we wanted to just already have those sounds cooked in. We didn't want to have to be imitating anything, and it left him free to make more modern compositions, but it all sounds, you know, vintage because, you know, it's all vintage equipment. And then the rest of it, you know, like was just that you know, like that Love and Rocket song that plays whenever Maika makes a mixtape and she's laying in bed and it goes over to Dan. You know, that was actually the starting point in terms of the music. You know, I had that for a little while and wanted to use it in the film, and you know, I was just inspired by, like, you know, some pot and mescaline dealers I knew back in Alabama who were all a bunch of goth kids, and they actually introduced me to a lot of the music in this film. And you know, there's also, you know, there's sort of a real life Anna out there who also kind of filled in the rest of the gaps of the music for me. And yeah, so and we just wanted to kind of like build this soundtrack around that kind of characterization.
I got time for 2 more questions, so yeah.
I just wanted to ask about the action set. If you have like a shooting or car crash, and I wanted to know how hard the shoot was.
Well, you know, whereas the car crash is concerned, this was the first time that we'd ever attempted that, and funny enough, you know, the action script that we were, you know, going to try to do in South Korea had like a 50-page car chase scene in it that sounded good. And fortunately we didn't do that, because what we found on this film when we had that one car crash is that it took 3 times to get that car to crash correctly. The first time, the cars, they were on a pulley rig being pulled towards each other. The first time they went off course just enough so that they scraped against each other, and it damaged them enough where it didn't look like a real wreck, but we couldn't shoot again that day. Next time we tried it again, no go, and you know, at that point,
out and broke the axles.
yeah, and we were kind of like, you know, there's probably like hundreds of cars crashing on accident right now, and we can't get 2 of them to hit each other. So it felt like a real failure, but at the same time we were, you know, very happy that we didn't do this 50-page car chase scene, you know.
Where we don't speak the language.
And then eventually it worked out, you know, and you know, initially I didn't want them to actually pitch straight on with each other. I wanted them to hit a kind of an angle and kind of spin around, but when we got to that 3rd take, it was just like, just give us something, anything, so let's just do it as safe as possible.
Right, and then straight line towards each other.
Yeah.
When, you know, no, I was just going to point out also that during like the shootout, there was one like, you know, one of those like, god damn it moments on set where they like kind of quietly came over and they're like, I think we're going to run out of bullets. And I was just like, you gotta be kidding, like how many did you bring in? Like 20,000?
Well, yeah, normally if you were going to like kind of stage a shootout in a more realistic way, they would, you know, not just hold down the triggers and, you know, spray them out, but I didn't really care about any of that kind of realism, you know? And, but anyways, yeah.
Anyway, it's really hard and it's awful. Okay, yes. Yep.
Okay, I really enjoyed the X, and along with this one, so it was really good. After Spirit and Academy, he was. Afterwards,
Wait, that's a terrible question. The answer is yes, but I think we should do another question now. But that's a terrible question.
What was the question? What was the question?
Oh, she wants to know if she can have a picture with us after the Q&A. Look, I already shamed her like 3 times. Alright, this is what we do to our fans, that's why we only have like 3 of them. Over there, please, sir. Right. You can ask your question later. Okay.
Would it help if they were older or younger? The teenage thing. Was it difficult keeping charm? That was something we really wanted to play with. I think we all, when we sat down, realized that what we missed from a lot of action movies nowadays was a bit of humor and character in the middle of gratuitous violence. So it was was fun to work on, sure.
And there was one, yes, you got the final one, maybe.
Oh, okay. Well, I have two questions. First is brief. When is the Canadian release date so we can recommend it to all our friends? Excellent. And the second is the flip side, that last question. What was the casting process like for finding the character of David? He seems to have a unique embody this role of having eyes that communicate ultra terror and extreme thumbableness.
Dan came over to my house and I asked him to take his clothes off.
Get off, you guys.
No, I mean, like, we really just had a couple conversations, and I was looking for somebody who really, got the sense of humor of the script, but just had a natural kind of charm and things of that nature, and it just kind of made sense. Honestly, I can't even remember the process. I just remember after I met with Dan, I had all these other actor meetings all set up, and the whole time I was just like, this is the guy. I just, it just clicked. I'd already seen him. My parents had already made me sit down and watch the first season of Downton Abbey. So that eventually happened, and I really enjoyed it. And Dan actually made a really good impression on me, so I knew he could already act. And just from talking to him, I was just like, this guy gets the character, and the only thing that was left was for Dan to work out those, and he showed us he could. It was like that.
All right, let's hear it.